Thank you so much for joining us today for this momentous occasion. My name is Angel Cabrera. I have the honor of serving as president of Georgia Tech. And we welcome you to Georgia Tech's 2024 Ivan Allen Jr. Prize for Social Courage. Thank you for joining us. I think many of you are fully aware of what this important prize is about. Those of you who are not, you will leave today with a full appreciation for what it is this award represents. Now, as we begin, I want to recognize a few special guests. There are lots of people that I won't be able to recognize everybody here. We love you all equally, but you'll understand that I point out a couple in particular. One is Bo Allen, representing the Allen family. If you want to just wave, Bo, thank you so much. Bo is the grandson of Mayor Ivan Allen Jr., a proud Georgia Tech, his grandfather, proud Georgia Tech alum that we will also honor today as the namesake of the prize. Next to Bo is Dean Kay. Dr. Kay Husbands-Feeling is the dean of the Ivan Allen Jr. College of Liberal Arts at Georgia Tech. And she is, I've seen her in action, Bo. She is incredibly proud to tell the story of your granddad to anybody who cares to hear, or not. It doesn't matter. They'll get this story about the amazing life of your grandfather. And I extend also a warm welcome to Tom and Lou Glenn of the Wilbur and Hilda Glenn Family Foundation. Now, this prize would not exist without them. The foundation helped create the Ivan Allen Jr. Prize for Social Courage in 2010, and he provided the endowment that allows us to continue this honor in perpetuity. And I don't think there's anybody better than Tom Glenn to let you know about why this award matters so much to all of us. Tom? Yep. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. In 2007, a group of people came together to preserve the legacy of Mayor Ivan Allen Jr. They revered his leadership and his accomplishments, such as bringing the Braves and the Falcons to Atlanta and bringing Atlanta through the civil rights movement. But it was his extraordinary courage that motivated that group to preserve his legacy, to inspire such courage in the future. That was the point. It was a pretty good idea. But none of those people back those years ago envisioned the needs for courage before us today. It's my objective to take a very brief moment to drill a little deeper into the nature and the extent of Ivan Allen's courage and emphasize how we need such courage now. Atlanta lore includes many stories about Ivan Allen taking a stand for integration. Notably, there is the story involving Georgia State Senator Leroy Johnson. Mayor Allen was planning to host a dinner at the Commerce Club for state legislature to promote harmony between state and city government. He was forced to change his plans when he realized that Senator Johnson's presence would violate the club's rule on allowing black guests. At a meeting of the club's board of directors, including 3 Atlanta bank presidents, he made a motion to change the rule. There was silence. No one seconded the motion. At that point, Bob Woodruff's audible whisper, "Ivan, you're absolutely right," caused hands to shoot up, and the motion passed. That story has been told many times, and it's well documented, but you are unlikely to see in print how those club members felt about Ivan Allen afterwards. Similarly, President John Kennedy asked Mayor Allen to testify before the United States Senate on behalf of the Public Accommodations section of the Civil Rights Act, requiring all private businesses involved with interstate commerce to serve anyone, regardless of color. Amidst outrage throughout the South, Mayor Allen gave his testimony on July 26, 1963. Following his testimony, one of the senators observed that they had been visited by a man of quiet courage. This is yet another well-documented story. But once again, it tells us nothing about the contempt and vindictiveness, along with physical threats, that Ivan Allen subsequently endured in Atlanta. I ask you today to think about some of your closest friends, some you play golf with regularly, or in bridge or book clubs with, or even take trips with. Now, imagine taking a public stand on an issue that not only necessitates police protection for you and your family, but causes these very people closest to you to resent you. At one time, Ivan Allen had trouble getting his golfing buddies at the Peachtree Golf Club to ride in the cart with him. This is true. And a powerful Atlanta businessman who was one of the very closest friends stopped speaking to him. This is also true. This, in addition to death threats requiring police protection at the Allens' home. Though I met Mayor Allen only once, I was fortunate to have several conversations with his wonderful wife, Louise. I think it was the last time I spoke with her when I said something to the effect of, "Y'all must have encountered some difficult social situations during those troubled times." She turned and gave me a look I'll never forget. As a mayor, Ivan Allen was a public servant, like those in other executive, legislative, and judicial positions, and like poll workers. Today, many of our public servants are facing frightening situations that test their courage and mettle. I am glad to report that most of Ivan Allen's scarred personal relationships healed and were restored as others realized that he took the right path. And I hope those courageous souls now facing daunting situations will emerge from their challenges, showing that they also took the right path. And I am also glad, Judge Benham, that someone of your courage and mettle is before us today to inspire us in a way that we so desperately need. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Glenn, for those words, for your continued support. Probably one of the most inspiring, maybe less spoken about, but most inspiring acts of courage from Ivan Allen Jr., in my view, one that has inspired me a lot, is his courage to re-examine his beliefs and change his mind before he could change others. Something we all should be learning from. Thank you so much for doing that, and to add a little bit more information and insight about the amazing history of the man whose name is associated with this prize, we have a great video. So let's officially start our lunch. We'll watch the video, and then we'll be back soon to honor Justice Benham. Enjoy your lunch.
Georgia Tech established the Ivan Allen Jr. Prize for Social Courage in 2010 to honor a proud alumnus and former Atlanta mayor who took a stand and made a difference. Funded by the visionary philanthropy of the Wilbur and Hilda Glenn Family Foundation, the prize recognizes people who have risked their careers and livelihoods, and even their lives, to bravely act to bring about change. To make the world a safer place. To alleviate suffering. To advance democracy and equality. To promote human rights and human dignity. The prize honors their compassion, their refusal to quit, and their commitment not just to words, but to action in the face of challenges that seemed insurmountable. Mayor Allen's leadership and his advocacy for civil rights during the 1960s endure as a model not only for the people of Atlanta and the South, but for the nation and the world. The prize that bears his name underscores Georgia Tech's mission of improving the human condition. It is a testament to the power of acting on moral principle for the betterment of our world. And it is a reminder and an inspiration that progress and service are more than just words.
Hello, everyone, and welcome once again as we celebrate the Georgia Tech's 2024 Ivan Allen Jr. Prize for Social Courage. You heard Mr. Glenn and watched the video. Like Mayor Allen, each of our prize winners has bravely and boldly confronted the complex challenges we face in our world. They did so at the risk of their careers, sometimes their livelihoods, and at times even their lives in their pursuit of justice. Today, we are incredibly proud to present the 2024 Ivan Allen Jr. Prize for Social Justice to the Honorable Justice Robert Benham. A few family introductions. Justice Benham is joined today by his wife, Nell, their son, Austin, and their daughter-in-law, Alicia, along with a long list of friends, colleagues, and admirers. You'll hear a lot about firsts as we celebrate Justice Benham. The first African-American lawyer to establish a law practice in his hometown in Cartersville, Georgia. Just think about what that might have been like. First African-American president of the Bartow County Bar Association. First African-American judge on the Georgia State Court of Appeals. First African-American citizen to win a statewide election since Reconstruction. First African-American to be appointed to the Supreme Court of Georgia, and then first African-American to serve as Chief Justice. I'll add, all this was before he turned 50, which makes me, and I suspect some of us, feel as total slackers. Goodness. Now, as other pioneers know too well, the price of being first can be incredibly high. Justice Benham himself admits it was not easy. He faced discrimination, he faced social isolation, occasional insults and threats. But he didn't stop. Instead, he let his love for the law, his dedication to his community, and his dedication to his home state of Georgia, his commitment to country, and the pull to public service drive him no matter what the obstacles were. Now I would like to share a brief video highlighting Justice Benham.
I remember very well my dad saying something when I was 12 years old, when he called us all together. He said, "This is what it takes to live in this family." He said, "You serve your God, you sacrifice for your family, you share with your neighbors. If found deserving, perform public service, and if called upon, lay down your life for your country." Simple values, but I think they speak volumes in terms of what's part of public service. My family came to this state in the very year the Georgia Supreme Court was created, and we were held as slaves less than 2 miles from the first session of the Georgia Supreme Court. In 1846, we were held as the property of then Colonel Willis Benham as the first session was gavelled to order to talk about freedom and rights. Then a significant number of people, human beings in this state, were held in the status of cattle and mule as slaves.
History will remember Justice Benham because he's one of the finest human beings that this state has ever produced.
I have been a trial lawyer. I love trying cases. I had a good time trying cases, and I was not enthusiastic about leaving the practice of law.
He was the first African-American justice to serve on the Supreme Court, and prior to that, the Court of Appeals.
That's the first time any African-American had been elected to a statewide position. My appointment was historic, not so much for me, but for this state. It showed that we were moving ahead in the right direction. I came to the court by way of the African American experience, which means that I was influenced by some things that other people had not encountered, and I could bring those experiences to bear and those issues to bear on the court. While you're a lawyer, as I was for some 15 years, your relationship with the law is mainly that of the mechanic. You keep it tuned up, you keep it oiled, you keep it running with the procedures and the process. When you come to the appellate court, you have some ability to become an engineer, and you can help determine the direction of the court, the issues that are most important. We had a court that was willing to look at issues fairly, to keep an open mind, to keep a level head, and to apply the law equally and fairly, regardless of the person before the court. We talked about, not just getting the case right, but in doing so, improving trust for and confidence in our legal system. However, I did come to the Court of Appeals with a slightly different view of the American dream. My view of the American dream was an expansive view, and that is we had to keep enlarging the American dream because different people were coming. If a person goes into a court and there's no one like him, If that person gets a bad result, then that person will believe that somehow the system has been unfair due to either race, ethnicity, or gender. And whether that is true or not, if people believe it, as judges, we need to deal with it. Judge Davis, who was a Superior Court judge who had a name synonymous with the Confederacy, called me and said, "Bob, whatever it takes, we want you in law school at home." And when I finished law school, he came over to the University of Georgia and he says, "Where are you going to practice law?" I said, "Well, I think I'm still going to California." And he says, "No, you aren't." He said, "You are from Cartersville, you're one of our own, and a home is a place for you." But I just want to reflect on it, because if I can succeed, anybody can succeed in America. And they can do it in Georgia. You don't have to go up north or out west or something like that. Right here in Georgia, there are opportunities available for everyone.
I mean, an engineer of the law, you just cannot make up that quote. I mean, how appropriate. As we say around here, I think I need to add a little bit, hell of an engineer of the law. Wow, 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 wow. Learning about Justice Benham's perseverance and long, impressive career has been a gift for all of us, and even more so knowing that he must have required to keep going. The obstacles started from childhood. He knew what he wanted, even as a young man, when the harsh reality of racial prejudice stood firmly in his way. As you saw in the video, and for those of you who know him, you know that he's a wonderful storyteller. That's what I've heard from several people who know you very well. And yours is a story of resilience, of bravery, of fortitude. As Justice Benham tells it, when he was in 7th grade, his teacher asked him what he wanted to be when he grew up. The lawyer, he said. She quickly told him, "You can't be a lawyer because you're colored." To hear him tell it, Justice Benham's reply to that teacher quickly landed him in the principal's office. Apparently, there was some punishment for that daring comment, but he refused to apologize, and we are delighted that you didn't. Justice Benham tells another of the stories of being, at one point, the only student of color at the University of Georgia Law School. He had a supportive dean, but in the classroom, he experienced isolation and open hostility from some of his classmates. Of course, there were times when his resolve was understandably shaky. He wanted to quit law school and even went so far as to ask his parents to let him come home, saying, "I think I've messed up." His mother told him, "There's no such thing as messing up. You're going to have to measure up and do what needs to be done." What followed was a remarkable career in service to the state of Georgia, from breaking barriers to mentoring future leaders, many of them right here in this room today. Justice Benham's legacy is one of service, advocacy, and unwavering dedication. He is an inspiration to his colleagues, his family, and his community, an important figure in the history of our state. Testament to the pioneering spirit and resolve that it takes to stand alone as the first and to boldly build a bridge for the generations that will come. The boldness and courage is the very essence of the Ivan Allen Jr. Prize for Social Courage, and it is my privilege to officially present the 2024 Ivan Allen Jr. Prize for Social Courage to the Honorable Robert Benham. So Justice Benham has delegated his word on one of his former colleagues. And joining us today to offer a few remarks is Justice Charles Bethel. Hailing from Dalton, Georgia, Justice Bethel was appointed to the Supreme Court in 2018 by Governor Nathan Deal and was elected to a full 6-year term in 2020. He today gets extra points because as a graduate of the University of Georgia, he's wearing a beautiful gold tie. We're so pleased he's here today as we celebrate Justice Benham. Justice Charles Bethel. Thank you, sir. Thank you for doing this.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, everyone who is in attendance, who has participated in the process of recognizing our good friend and a great man, Justice Benham. It is for me a great honor, privilege, and candidly challenge to say a few words about someone who for me has played the role of hero, role model, colleague, and friend. In fact, I expect in just a few minutes that my smart watch, probably no doubt engineered by a Georgia Tech graduate, will tell me that my heart rate is elevated, but I don't seem to be too active. So in court, we would say, may it please the court, and Justice Benham, I'll just say, I hope that my words please your ears. Justice Robert Benham, a son of Georgia, and I might add, Northwest Georgia. Where to begin? Now, I could talk about our commonalities. Raised in Northwest Georgia, sons of the most beautiful part of all creation, beautiful sunrises, the opportunity to fish and enjoy all that nature gives us in our home. I am not by any means an accomplished water skier of the sort that Justice Benham apparently was in his youth. We have heard those stories. I believe that Justice Benham played a few sports along the way. I've heard a particularly devastating football story about his prowess on the football field on one particular occasion. And I think Justice Benham and I had the same drug problem as young people in that we were drugged by our parents to church every time the doors were open. And yes, we have a shared alma mater in the University of Georgia. Now, before all of you North Avenue folks get excited, that is my only planned reference to the school in Athens. And my dear and good friend George P. Burdell, I don't think George P. could make it today, assured me that one reference was allowed on such an occasion. But returning to my train of thought, the challenge in talking about our commonality is that it would never be complete without talking about our different experience. And so I will start in talking about Justice Benham and telling you a little story about where I was raised. In 1892, this is well before me, a gentleman, a banker, built a home in Dalton, Georgia. It was on then dirt road, Thornton Avenue, the main strip through town. And it's a red brick Victorian house, and if you saw it, you would say it's a lovely representation of Victorian-era architecture. And it's still today a beautiful home. Fast forward a lifetime. My mother has grown up around the block from this house and always loved it. And my dad, in an interest of love, says, I will purchase you your childhood dream home, and moved myself and my two older brothers into a wreck. Not a rambling wreck, but a wreck. The house itself had been constructed before electricity was common in homes. Plumbing was not particularly common, and some efforts had been made to make accommodation for those things. The house had not been maintained very well at all. Indeed, my brother Tom takes pride in the fact that he had actual grass growing in his bedroom when we moved into this house on Thornton Avenue. So for most of my childhood, I lived in a house we were restoring and rebuilding all around us, stripping paint. By the way, horsehair plaster, when you clean wallpaper off of it, makes your house smell like a barn because the horsehair is reinvigorated. Now, before you think Charlie has detoured into an episode of This Old House, let me tell you why my home reminds me of Justice Benham. In 1946, Justice Robert Benham was just Robert, and he was a child of a community and a state and a nation that was not designed to fit his needs and the needs of the family he would have. And when you find yourself in possession or in residence in an ill-suited, ill-fitted home, you have choices. You can tolerate the state in which you're living. You can reject it and say, I don't want anything to do with any of this. I want to leave. Or you can say, you know, there's something worth caring for in this place. There's something worth my effort to make better, not just for me, but for those who will come after me. And so the picture I have of Justice Benham, you know all the stories. Anyone who's been around him knows that his talent could carry him anywhere on this planet. But he chose to stay in that home. He chose to make Cartersville, Georgia, the United States of America, and really by extension the whole world, a better place because he worked on it. His chosen skill was in the law and in the legal profession. And so that's where we see most of the impact. But he also made little wooden toys for children to make the world a little bit more beautiful. And he touched those lives. And I know his children and grandchildren have been touched by his investment in them as individuals. So the home I live in is very different than the home Justice Benham was born into in Georgia. And I am thankful. It has never occurred to me in my life that a person cannot do something or be something or go somewhere because of their race. But the fact that you and I have at one time been colleagues means that I have a responsibility to keep working on our house that we collectively have as a home. So I will conclude with a brief thought. Justice Benham is indeed a hero. But heroes can sometimes seem distant. And Bob is right here. We have a responsibility, those of us who inhabit this house with him today, and to those who will follow us, to continue the work of improvement. Because just like that old house that is now inhabited by a different family, and they're a lovely family, the work is not done. The work of making it right might never be done, but that's not a reason not to start and work today. And I appreciate that example. I would offer to you, a bunch of engineers at Georgia Tech, that he is an engineer of the law, and that before us is what might be called the toil-worn craftsman, who is an expert in many fields and who has delivered for us time and time again. And those who have received the Ivan Allen Award are in good company because Bob Benham is a member of that list. I thank you for allowing me to give you a few words on behalf of Justice Benham, but more so I thank you for the idea that social courage and making a difference is worthy of honoring, and you couldn't have picked a better choice. Thank you very much.
Well, I had not planned to do this, but given that you all approve of our choice for the courage, I'm going to ask the members of the jury to stand up and be recognized for the wonderful work you've done. I appreciate your work. Every year, these people go through the names of impressive individuals until they find the person that deserves of this honor. Thank you, Justice Bethel. Really, those were moving in words that we will carry with us. Much, much appreciated. And Justice Benham, it has been a tremendous honor to celebrate you today. I want to thank all of our guests for joining us for this memorable event. For those who are able, we invite you to join us in the ballroom just across the lobby for our symposium, which will begin in a few moments and will feature a panel of legal experts, including Justice Bethel himself, Georgia Tech's General Counsel, Jeanette Jocelyn Gall, former Chief Justice of the Georgia Supreme Court, Harold Melton, and Georgia Tech alumna, Mrs. Candace Brose, who's an attorney and serves as the Commissioner of the Department of Human Services and the Director of the Department of Family and Children's Services, the first Georgian to ever hold both positions simultaneously. The panel will be facilitated by Dr. Roberta Berry, Associate Professor of Public Policy at Georgia Tech. Thank you all for being here and join us for the conversation. Thank you all so very much.